thoughts in the Triad tonight as a family committed to serving their community says goodbye to a man who died protecting it. Police lined the streets, flowers covered the funeral home. Those who knew and loved him shared their stories, some with laughs, some with tears, all to honor police officer Jared Franks. WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty was there as he was honored and remembered.
For police officers, firefighters, first responders,
communications to badge 315.
Going out on the call, no matter what's waiting at the other end, is the job.
Communications to badge 315, Officer J.W. Franks.
When an officer dies in the line of duty, the department holds the end of watch call, the final call. On Saturday, Greensboro Police made that final call for 24-year-old Officer Jared Franks.
GPD car 1 to communications. Show badge 315-1042, please.
Officer Franks only served 2 years on the force, but his friends, fellow officers, say he was the best of the best, someone who understood what being a good police officer was all about.
It's about treating people the way they need to be treated. It's about being human. And to hear of a young officer who already had that
squad, and he was by far the hardest worker.
We may have been two people, but we worked as one, a team, a bond that could never be broken, a bond that can never be explained to another, only understood.
Of the hundreds of officers, many may not have known him, but they do know that bond.
It's not about the thin blue line. It's not about the thin red line or the gold line. It's about us being family. Because if you have the shared experience, something.
From the funeral to the burial ground.
All units, all channels.
It may be the end of watch for Officer Franks, but he won't soon be forgotten.
It's 315-1042. End of watch, November the 10th, 2018. At 2017 hours. Thank you for your service, Officer Jared Franks. You will be missed.
The Greensboro Police Department will hold a candlelight vigil for Franks Sunday at 5:30 outside police headquarters downtown, and it's open to the public.